you see, to keep their hold on it. You see. Secondly, I myself think, I have no evidence, but I think the British soldier wanted the disbandment of the army immediately, so that they wanted to go to their civil jobs. You see, you know how much indignation there was at this gradual disbandment of the army, because those who were not disbanded felt that those who were disbanded were going to take their jobs. What's going to happen to them? You see, therefore they could not, you see, think of having enough of a British army to keep India down. You see, and besides they had thought, I think, thirdly, that after all, what they gained from India was commerce, and not so much the civil servant salary or the army income. They were small things, and they had better be sacrificed for the sake of keeping something which was much more profitable, namely trade and commerce. Because whether India remained independent or India accepted dominion status or something lesser than that, you see, the trade and commerce would go on just the same. I think, personally myself, I have no authority for that, but that is the way the work of the mind of the Labour Party turned.
Now, casting your mind back to the Pune attack, the Eurab attack,
yes.
Can you remember a little of what Gandhi said to you and what you said to him?
Oh, I know it very well. I know it very well. You see, the British government had, in the original award which MacDonald had given, you see, had accepted my suggestion. I said, look here, the Hindus want, you see, that there should be a common electorate, so that there may be no separatist feeling between the scheduled caste and the Hindus. We think that if you have a common electorate, we would be submerged, you see, and the nominees of the scheduled caste who would be elected, who would be really slaves of the Hindus, not independent people. Now, I told Mr. Ramsay MacDonald that this is a sort of a thing, you see, that he might do. Give us a separate electorate, you see, give us a separate electorate, and also give us a second vote in the general election, you see, so that Gandhi cannot say that we are separated in point of election. First of all, my contention was this, that for 5 years, you see, we live separately from the Hindus, with no kind of intercourse or intercommunication, you see, of a social or a spiritual sort, you see. What can one day's cycle of participation, you see, in a common electorate do to remove this hardened crust, you see, of separatism, which has grown for centuries? It's a foolish thing to think that if two people vote together, you see, in a common polling booth, you see, that their hearts are going to change. It's nothing of the kind. Mr. Gandhi has got this madness in him. Well, let this be satisfied, you see, by this kind of a system. Give the untouchables 2 votes, you see, and give them a population representation of ratio, so that the weightage would be in terms of votes and not in terms of representative, so that the Gandhi and others may not complain, you see. That Ramsay MacDonald accepted, you see. The award was really my suggestion. I wrote to him a letter from Naples, you see, that this is what I would like him to do, you see, so that there may be no trouble. This is exactly what he did, you see, gave us a separate electorate and also a vote in the general electorate, you see. But Gandhi didn't want that we should send our 2 representatives, you see. Therefore, he didn't want the separate electorate part of the award, and went on fast, you see, went on fast. Then they all came to me, they said, well, the British government said, if he agrees, you see, to abandon the award, then we have no objection, you see. But we can't abandon the award ourselves. We have given the award, we have taken all things into consideration, and we think this is the basis. You ought to read Ramsay MacDonald's letter. It's a very clear statement that we haven't done anything to aggravate the separation. You see, in fact, we are trying to bridge it up by bringing the 2 sections together in a common electoral roll. But Gandhi's object was that we should not get, you see, free independent representation. Therefore, in the first place, he said, no representation ought to be given to us. That's how his stand in the Round Table Conference. You see, he said, I recognize only three communities. You see, namely Hindus, you see, Muslims and Sikhs. These are the only three communities that will have a political recognition, you see, in the Constitution. You see. But the Christians or the Anglo-Indians or the scheduled caste will have no place in the Constitution. They must merge themselves in the general community. That was the stand that he had taken. Well, all his friends, I know, you see, were asking him how foolish was his attitude. You see, his own friends had quarreled with him on this subject. That if you are prepared to give, you see, special representation to the Sikhs and special representation to the Muslims, who are 1,000 times superior in strength, you see, and political and economic stamina, how can you deny it, you see, to the scheduled caste or to the Christian? You see? He always used to say, oh, you don't understand our problem. You see, that's all he was saying. Alexander even, who was a great friend of his, had a serious quarrel with him, as he told me. Then that French woman, who was his disciple, I forget her name now, you see, she also had a great quarrel with him. That we don't understand this attitude. Either you say, we won't give anything to anybody. Let there be just a common role. You see, then we can understand that that's a democratic thing. You see, but to go on saying that you will give it to the Muslims, you see, and you give it to the Sikhs, you see, but not to the scheduled caste, seems absurd. You see, he could give no answer. He could give no answer. So we suggested this method. But he also didn't, in the beginning, when he wrote a letter, he said, no, the scheduled caste should have nothing. No representation. You see. Then his own friend said to him, this was asking for too much. You see, nobody would support you in this matter. Then Malviya and others came to me and said, well, could you not help us to solve this problem? You see, I said, well, I don't want to solve this problem by sacrificing what we have been able to get from the British Premier.
So you went to Pune?
As I said, I suggested an alternative formula. And that formula was that I am not prepared to give up the separate electorate, but I am prepared, you see, to modify the thing. You see, in this way, namely, that the candidates who would stand in the final election on behalf of the scheduled caste should be first elected by the scheduled caste themselves. Sort of a primary election, you see, and that they should elect 4 people, you see, 4. And the 4 then should stand in the general electorate, you see, and let the best one come, you see, so that we get some assurance that you don't put up, you see, your own nominees, you see, but that we do get people who will express our voice in the parliament. That Mr. Gandhi had to accept, so he accepted that, you see. Of course, we had the benefit of it only in one election, in 1937, you see. There you will see that the Federation swept the poll. Gandhi was not able to get a single candidate of his party elected.
Well, did he bargain very hard at the end of his fast?
Oh, of course. He bargained and bargained. I said nothing doing. You see, I am prepared to save your life, you see, provided you do not make hard terms, you see. But I am not going to save your life at the cost of the life of my people, you see. This is too much. How much I have labored, you see, in all this, I know very well. And I am not going to sacrifice your whim, sacrifice our people's interest, just for the sake of satisfying. Yours is a whim, you see. How can one day's common election alter the situation? Simply cannot alter the situation.
So what did he say to that?
He couldn't say anything. You see, he couldn't say anything. He was very much afraid, you see, that the scheduled caste would be a sort of as independent a body as the Sikhs and the Muslims were, and that the Hindus would be left alone to fight a battle against the combination of these 3 sections. That was what was at the back of his mind. And he didn't want the Hindus to be left without any allies.
So really he worked entirely as a politician.
As a politician. He was never a Mahatma, and I refuse to call him Mahatma. You see, I've never in my life called him Mahatma. He doesn't deserve that title. Not even from the point of view of his morality. You see,